we'll be discussing the process of how to troubleshoot a specific scan error, which is scan IPs are not within an accessible range. If you ever try to run a scan against a network and you do not have the ability to scan that network, you'll see an error within the scan results that the IP range that you're trying to scan is not an accessible range. Now, there are two areas in which you can verify to troubleshoot this specific error. You will need access to the administrator user in Tenable.sc. If you do not have access to this admin account, please contact the administrator in your organization to gain access to verify these specific areas. The first area we're going to troubleshoot is the scan zone. I logged in as the admin user. To get to the scan zones, you go under Resources, Scan Zones. Now, the scan zone is essentially a range for the scanner tied to that zone, allowing that scanner to scan the specific networks. The network I was trying to scan was 192.168.1.0. As indicated here in my scan zone, it is not an accessible range. I do not have the ability to scan that specific network. You'll then add that network, and this will allow my scanner tied to the zone to be able to scan the .10/24 network. If I were to try to scan that network again, go under Scans, Active Scans, and launch the scan, in theory, I should be able to run a scan against that specific network now. Now, jump back to my results, I can still see that there is an error. Viewing that error, it still indicates that my scan IPs are not within the accessible range. The second section and second area that you want to double check is also within the admin user, and that is the repositories. Jumping back to the admin user, I'm going to go under Repositories, Repositories. Network 3 repository is part of the repository I'm trying to import into. Repository itself is just a database in which the network information then will be stored in that specific repository. Within the IP range here, it does indicate that 192.168.1.0 is also not part of the repository. Now, if I add that specific network in here, this allows me to import any data associated with 1.0/24, and that then allows you to have the data stored in that specific repository. I will hit Submit, and now when I try to run my scan, go back to scan results, you will now see that the scan is available, it's pending, and it will try to run the scan. To recap, the two areas that you want to verify is the admin user in Tenable.sc, which then you'll modify the scan zone and repository. Those two areas are the most important to allow for the networks that you're trying to scan. They will need to be included in those areas to allow you to be able to scan those specific networks.